Hey, welcome back. We got the Gretsch. I leveled fretboard on it with a leveling block, 12-inch radius. Now what I want to do is clean my slots out, check them, make sure they're going to be deep enough for these tangs on this fret wire. So what I do is I'll take an X-Acto saw and just, I'm not cutting into it, I'm just getting the dust out of it. Then I take my depth gauge. It has 4 sides. One side is a 10-inch to a 14-inch radius. I'm gonna sit that in there. And this is not deep enough. I'll take a picture of it for you, and it has 2 sets of lines. One set of lines is for an 060 tang depth. The other one is for 074. I've got 074. So when you buy your fret wire, you have to kind of pay attention to what you're purchasing. It's always better to keep purchasing the same style every time. So I know I need to be to the 074 line, which I'm not. So what I did was I took my calipers, I set them for 074, then I loosened up the plastic stop on my fret saw. With it locked into 074, I sat it on there and I made sure that I had 074 all the way across. Then I tightened everything down. Now this is clean, there's no dust in it. I take my fret saw and just let it do the work. It's made to pull, not really made to push. Now I clean that slot out and take it down until I feel it riding on that plastic. And there we go. Now what I want to do is retry my depth gauge. And now I'm right on the money. I'm going to continue to go down the neck. I'm going to do all of them, and then I'll get back with you. Okay, I've got all of them cleaned out. Went down through there with my fret saw on all of them. Checked all of them. I want to show you how I check them. I take my gauge, which I took some pictures that are going to show a little bit better, but you can see the line on the bottom of that gauge. You want to put it into the fret slot and not see the line anymore. You want to go back and forth across both sides. I like to go past it so that I can see exactly how low the line is in comparison to where I'm at. I want to be right on the verge of seeing it. I want to go from one to the next. And that's what I did with every single slot. So, okay, let's do some frets. The first thing we're going to do is I just posted a video on the tools you're going to need, so we're not going to cover that too much. I've got my fret wire. This is wide low is how they list it. It's got a very low crown. Because this is a Gretsch and what it is, I have this one. This is a wide pyramid shape, which is a little bit taller than most. That's going to help us keep this straight, since the Gretsch guitar, the strings ride on the first fret rather than riding on the nut. Okay. Let's bulk this up a little bit. There we go. We don't want to put any pressure on the neck. We don't want it We don't want it sitting on the headstock and this and that. So what we're going to do now is take a piece of our wide low, which is going to be everything but that first fret, and I'm going to put it into my radius gauge. Well, radiuser. I'm just going to give it a little tweak. Run it on through. A little at a time. I'm not trying to do it all at once. Not at all. If you don't have one and you do a lot of fret work, you ought to get one. Fret wire by the pound is a lot cheaper than by the job. What I'm looking for, I've got a 12-inch radius on this neck, on this fingerboard. But what I'm really looking for is probably about 11 and a half. I want just a little bit. And see, it's still rocking back and forth pretty good, so we're going to go some more on it. I want the radius to be a little bit tight on it. I want the edges to go in before the middle goes in. It just makes it easier to get it in straight. And I'll do each piece of fret wire like this. My hand starting it. Okay. We're almost there. Almost. The fret wire goes in easily till it hits the tangs, and once it hits the tangs, it stops. And that's how it's supposed to be. The tangs are what actually holds it in. When I'm taking it down there, it's still rocking just a little bit, so we're going to give it a little bit more. This is really nice because I can do it like I want it. If you order it, you order a 10-inch radius, 12-inch radius, 7 1/4, whatnot. I can make this a little bit tight. It's going to be easier to install because I'm doing it myself. And if you do a lot of frets, that's definitely the way to go. Now, it's not rocking back and forth. The middle's just a little bit higher. That's perfect. That's what we want. Next thing I want to do is felt tip marker. Mark it. Give myself about 1/8 of an inch on either side. I still like to use a Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel to cut it with. It just makes a nice clean cut. Okay. Just a nice clean cut. You know, if you use cutters, and a lot of times you'll smash the crown or smash the tang. This way everything's still nice and true. I'll sit this on there. Looks good. But the sides of this neck are painted, sides of the fingerboard are painted. I don't want to get into that when I'm truing these up. So my next step is going to be to nip the tangs off. Now, I don't want to get real crazy with it. I just want to make sure that they're not protruding from the outside. That's just about even, so there's a little bit more, just enough to make sure. And then what I like to do is take a little file and just dress it up just to make sure. Any issues. Now, once I get up above here where I can get a pair of trimmers in, it's going to make it a lot easier. These first few I like to make fit pretty much perfect. So I'm going to mark them once again. And I'm going to Dremel tool them once again. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of a file around these edges a little bit. Try to get a little bit of a start to them. I'll come back later when I do all of them and I'll get them perfect. But I don't want to have to try to nip these that much. And right, you know, it's just a lot of fit and finish work. Every single one has to be fit. Every single one has to be fit and just laid in individually. As you start it to heal, then if you mess one up, it's not total trash. You just move up to in an area where it doesn't need to be so big. Or so wide, so long, whatever you want to call it. This is why fretwork takes so long. It takes somebody with a lot of patience to do it correctly. That's why it tends to be one of your more expensive repairs. Especially if it's got binding on the side, because then you can't go back. Right now I can take this and I go across the corner very carefully. With binding, it has to be absolutely perfect before you even put it in. Okay. That looks really good. I like to put, what I do is hide glue. Some people hate it. Some people who hate it don't understand what it's for. Hide glue is used because you can always apply some steam to it. It reactivates it, turns it back into a liquid, and you can take stuff apart. Some people will use cyanoacrylic super glue on these. That's fine if you never want to take it apart again. You shouldn't have to take it apart again, but you never know. So I just get some on a toothpick. I don't get crazy with it. I mostly want it to help fill in that gap between the tangs. That way the tangs can do their job. Once you get that far, it's just a matter of putting it in. See how it sits there nice and easy? That's because that radius is just a little bit tighter. Take a dead blow with plastic. The plastic won't hurt the fret wire at all. If you use say aluminum or brass, you're going to have nicks and dents. Just put it in there. You can see some of it, the hide glue came out. Take a damp cloth, remove it. And there we go. Done deal. Now, 21, 22 more to go. I'm just going to keep doing that same thing all the way down. So, I will show you what I do after this. After I get all these done. Which, as you can tell, it's going to take a little while. But, alright. We got the frets on. My brand new pair of fret cutters came. You can see they're just very well machined. I went through, I couldn't wait, wasn't even bothered with the tape, but trimmed all my frets. Then, after I trimmed all my frets, this is a painted fingerboard on the sides. Plus, I don't want to hurt the fingerboard at all when I do these, clean these up and shape them. So, I went down both sides with the masking tape. Then, went across the top. Now, what you want to do is get your files out. And you're just going to, on this one, I just want to do a nice little 45 on it until I get down to that fretboard. I just want to get that edge off of it. I'm not trying to shape it right now. When I go to shape it, I'm going to take my big file and I'm going to go down the side like this. That's going to get them all even, all the same. In fact, I had some big tape. I'm going to tape off the face of this guitar, the front of it too, to make sure nothing happens there. Big thing on this guitar is this first fret is a taller fret. Remember, we did that. So I'm going to get to work on these and get these sides at about a 45, and then we're going to come back to you. Okay, I went through it, got close to a little bit of a 45, a 40, 45 degree angle. Got them all worked down till I started hitting the tape as far as, you know, the small file. Now what I want to do is get them even all the way across. The way I do this with a longer file, and I just hold it at an angle. And what I'm looking at is, I'm looking down in between it. And I'm just making sure that I'm taking these frets down until I touch the tape. Not the wood, the tape. You do a few, move up. Do a few, move up. Eventually you'll get it. It takes a long time, but that's okay. Be patient. You'll get there. You'll feel the tape start to roll a little bit, the glue from the tape. And that's when you know you've hit the tape. You don't really have to go through it. And you can run your finger down the side. You shouldn't feel anything sharp. You should feel the tape and not the frets. You'll feel them, but they should be even with the tape. And you can see, just if you listen, that's not snagging on anything. That side's good. I'm gonna do the other side, but before I do, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm going to do next. Usually, maybe I have it over here. I do. Usually you'd get a fret file. These are flat, smooth on both sides, but on the edges they've got a concave shape and it matches your fret. They come in quite a few sizes. This is a wide because I'm using a wide fret. And you just want to knock that first little initial edge off. I don't want to do it too much because this guitar is supposed to be flat. You can actually round these edges off and make them completely round if you want to. But I just want to get whatever burrs that file left behind is all I'm doing on this one. When you're doing stuff like this, your eyes aren't going to help you near as much as your ears. You're listening for the sound. You're feeling for it to catch. You want it to feel smooth when you're going down it. As usual, let the tool do the work. Getting down to where I was rounding them off, shaping them before I put them on. So, see how that was snagging up? There it goes. Always tape off the body. It's a lot easier to put a bunch of tape on and take it off than it is to try to match that paint and fix a paint job. After I've done that to all of them, then I take my big file. This is the one that I ground the edge flat, smooth, nothing on it. And I'm just going to do a quick around each one. Just get that sharp edge off of it. That's all you're doing. You can use a smaller file, especially with the tape on it. Feel it, make sure there's nothing sharp. Move on to the next one. This process takes a long time. I'm not going to completely bore you and make you watch me do it, but that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to do our final check and take this tape off. Well, final check, polish them, then take the tape off and we'll be done. But I'll be back then. Okay. Got all both sides done. Feels good. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes. I'm going to get a picture. If you do it right, you get right down on that tape line, and you get where you're feeling the tape more than the frets. You can always go back and do a little bit of touch-up if you need to. It's not a big deal. That's when you would use a small jeweler's file and no tape, and we're just getting the bulk of it right now. There's always fine-tuning. Now for the step that most people aren't going to show you. Most people say, oh, you know, everything was flat and straight and I put the frets on. But even frets, I mean, you may get a little piece of trash under one or something, but I always like to check it with leveling block. Just run it down it. You're not trying to level frets, you just looking to make sure that you're hitting all of them at the same time, and I am. So that tells me that we did a good fret job on a nice straight neck, and everything's going to play perfect. I have had to replace frets, get one that was way off or way low or way high. This is going to tell you exactly what you got. And on this Gretsch, the frets are supposed to be flat and square looking, so it definitely isn't going to hurt me. So just run over this. This is just 2000 grit. I mean, this is nothing. This is just creating a scratch across the top of that fret so I can make sure that fret is level with all the ones around it. You can get a fret triangle. I got one. You rock it back and forth across them, but if you find something wrong, you're going to be using this, so you might as well just go ahead and check it with this. Now we polish the good old polishing kit, Dremel tool. We did this before on this guitar with the original frets, so there's no reason to show you all that. You go back to when we did the fret leveling on it. Just kind of odd. Usually I don't do it twice, but this is a special one, so I decided to go ahead and put frets on it, and I'm glad I did. So let me get these polished up. We'll get the tape off, and then it's just down to giving it a good cleaning and a good assembling. We're going to check the Alright, there we go. Fret job done. Feels good. Another thing that I do, even on most new guitars, standard, is take the file with the nothing on that one side, and just round it off where your tape was holding you off. After you do that, piece of 2000 grit, and just go up and down it a few times. It will, even, like I say, even a new guitar benefits from this. I guess it simulates playing a little bit. I don't know. It definitely makes things really smooth, really nice, feel really good in your hand, and that's what you want. So this thing's going to get a coat of boiled linseed oil on it. And then we're going to clean it up and reassemble it. Looking good, feeling really good. A lot better than those wore out frets that were on it. They were just too low to, you were going to have to work hard to make a note with them. So not now. We are good now. Okay, everything looks great. Now, to get old boiled linseed oil again. We'll put that on nice and thick. This is going to help. This is going to work its way down in between the fret and the fingerboard. It's going to seal everything in. It's going to condition the fingerboard. It's going to lock those frets into place like you won't believe. And it's just the final touch, the final, the icing on the cake, I guess you'd call it. Let this dry, buff it all out again, and this neck is ready for another, I don't know, 50 years. Hopefully, fret job and working on the truss and the headstock and fixing the paint, and we're finally off the neck. We're finally gonna have fun like we started to. Just clean this thing up and check it electrically, like I said. And so until then, have a good time. I'll talk to you later.